and welcome back to the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce Member Connection. I am your host, Eric Knowles, president of the Miami-Dade Chamber, as we celebrate 50 years of Black excellence here in Miami-Dade County, South Florida, because we have members all the way from Palm Beach down to Broward, Miami-Dade, and other parts of not just Florida, but the country. So, yeah, you already know the deal. I'm excited. Again, when we are talking about building Black business, small business, minority-owned, and women-owned businesses, it's exciting. And today, and I have to read her name because I don't want to blow it. So, Ms. Kemba Olabisi Gosier, how are you?
Yes, I'm doing great. Super excited to be here.
Super excited.
Yes.
Exciting to have you here. And you are the president of Advancing Sickle Cell Advocacy Project. But before we get there, tell our folks a little bit about you and where you're from and who you are, and then we'll get into A.S.A.P, as I see that you call it.
Yes, A.S.A.P. Well, my name is Kemba Gosier. As you stated, I'm the president of Advancing Sickle Cell Advocacy Project, Inc., but most importantly, I'm the mother of a daughter living with sickle cell disease, which is my passion and actually my purpose in life. When my daughter was born, let me just get right to the beginning. I didn't even know I was someone who carried the sickle cell trait until my daughter was actually born with the actual disease. Then I later found out that 1 in 13 African Americans are actually carriers of the sickle cell trait. But I'm a certified sickle cell educator and counselor, as well as I work as a consultant on several projects to improve the quality of care for people, in fact, impacted by sickle cell disease here in South Florida.
All right. You and I, we were at one of our breakfasts, I believe, a couple months ago, and I shared with you, I actually have a cousin who recently passed away a couple months ago, but, and honoring him, he actually lived to his 70s.
Wow.
And the one thing that we know about sickle cell, and one thing I remember him, you know, he's an older cousin, and I remember he's from the Bahamas, and I remember him coming to the United States throughout the years while I was in like middle school and high school, and coming and going to the hospital. And I remember his story that they didn't know what sickle cell was. He was having these pains, you know, when he got to be about 5 or 6 years old. And when he came to the U.S. is when they first realized what it was. And that's when this is back in the 60s.
Yes.
And this is when they first started realizing what sickle cell was.
Yes, and my condolences again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, by him, and that's a miracle in itself, him to be able to persevere.
Right, because again, they say that, you know, people aren't expected to live beyond their teens or in their early 20s.
Yes, definitely. And now, here in Florida, in 1987, it's mandatory now for all newborns to be tested regardless of the race. So now, if you were born prior to that, then, you know, like your cousin, you weren't aware.
Right.
Of,
and again, my understanding that is pretty prevalent, obviously, in the African American or the African diaspora, and as well as the Latin community as well.
Yes, it's prevalent in Hispanics, also people of Indian descent as well, Mediterranean. A lot of people don't know that.
Okay.
And actually,
that's
sickle
the first
cell.
time I heard that.
Oh yes, absolutely. And sickle cell is actually the most common genetic disorder in the United States of America. So, but even though it's the most common genetic disorder, we still are lagging far behind in terms of research. We're underfunded, undersupported. We lack in a lot of areas still to this day.
Okay. Now, you became aware and got involved and got engaged because of your daughter. And when did you discover?
Okay. Well, my daughter was born. My daughter's an adult now.
Right.
When she was a pediatric patient, sickle cell warrior, pediatric warrior, I noticed that no one wants to see a child in pain, right? He needs resources, better treatment, a cure, and we need it as soon as possible. So it's also a play on that as well.
Right. Well, And again, obviously having a family member who suffered or stricken by sickle cell, you hear about these cures all the time. What is out there? What in terms of alleviating the disease?
Well, bone marrow transplant is a curative therapy. However, everyone doesn't qualify for that. You have to have a match. December 8th of 2023, gene editing was approved for sickle cell disease, which is another curative treatment. So we're learning as we go along with that. We're actually having a town hall on April 17th at the Betty Ferguson Center, where we have the two companies that are responsible for the gene editing, which is Bluebird Bio and Vertex Pharmaceuticals. They're going to come and we're going to learn information about that. But that's still very new, but it's very promising that the FDA approved that specifically for sickle cell disease. Right now, we currently have 4 medications that are used to treat sickle cell disease. But again, that's still lagging behind like cystic fibrosis and other illnesses that are chronic as well. So we're making progress, but we still have a ways to go.
Okay. So, again, how old is your daughter now?
My daughter's 32 years old.
Okay. So, what has that been like in terms of obviously you discovering that she had it and up until now? What have the challenges been?
Well, to be honest with you, just like with your cousin, how they gave him a life expectancy, and sickle cell disease does shorten, can shorten the life expectancy of someone. So when she was 2, I actually had an emergency room doctor tell me don't plan for college for her. It devastated me, actually broke my spirit. At that time, I wasn't as educated. Over the course of the last, I would say, 20 plus years, she experienced several vaso-occlusive crises, which is the pain crisis, which causes severe pain. But many people don't understand what's causing the pain. Those red blood cells are lacking oxygen, so
Right,
they get
so
trapped and stuck.
right.
And, you know, they can get stuck anywhere in the body where blood flows.
Right.
So she's had several of those. By the time she was 9, she actually had over 30 hospital admissions.
Wow.
And she lost her hip at the age of 11.
Oh.
So she's been through a lot, but I do know.
And then when you say that, wow, she lost her hip at 11, I know we're going to have to take a break. Actually, I'm going to put a pin in it right there.
Okay.
Because that's one of the things that I recognize or realize that my cousin had to go through. So we'll be right back and get back to this conversation.
Okay.
Learn and earn today at Miami-Dade College. College graduates earn 56% more than high school graduates and $1 million more in lifetime earnings. A degree from MDC is your path to greater earning power and career success. Choose from hundreds of affordable high-tech and in-demand career programs, including cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, business, and nursing. Learn and earn today at MDC and fast-track your career. Enroll now at mdc.edu/purpose.
Hi, and welcome back to the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce Member Connection. I am your host, Eric Knowles, president of the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce, and we're having a important conversation about sickle cell. And before we took the break, you said your daughter had basically broke her hip, lost her hip at the age of 11.
Yes, due to the sickle cell, something called avascular necrosis caused her hip bone to be deteriorated by the sickle cell disease.
Wow. And the reason I hesitated and stopped there is that was my cousin. Like I said, he was lived until he was, he just passed away like 75, 76 years old. But that was the last thing that he actually had to deal with was the issues with his hips. He didn't have that issue earlier on and go through what your daughter went through at 11. But as he aged, he did have, his mobility got to be quite challenging. I've dealt with, in my prior responsibilities working with the Miami Dolphins, we actually used to do a sickle cell walk at the stadium. What things are out there supporting the work that you're doing?
Well, we, as far as advancing Sickle Cell Advocacy Project, A.S.A.P, we have a support group that we do. It's very important for people and families that are affected by sickle cell disease to have support. It affects the entire family, financially, emotionally, every way you can think of. So we have a support group that we do for our teenagers, our younger, a general support group we do for our general population. We also provide several programs such as COPE, Community of Parents Empowered, where we teach coping strategies. We have licensed specialists that come in, music therapy, art therapy, teaching the children that are under 18 and their parents how to cope with having sickle cell disease at a young age. We also do a lot of education. We work with our FIU medical school as well, with teaching our future doctors and healthcare providers how it is living with sickle cell disease, so that when they, not all of our healthcare providers are bad, we have some amazing ones.
Right. But
unfortunately, there's a lack of education and understanding and compassion, especially when it gets to the adult side of things. So we tackle that by having workshops with the future medical students and our sickle cell warriors, as well as our healthcare providers as well.
Okay, so what can people do? And I know you just said that, but what can really people do to help you?
We are always looking for volunteers. We can never have enough hands on deck because it truly takes a village, especially within the sickle cell community, to make a difference. So we're always looking for supporters, volunteers, donors. We also do a lot of work with our state legislators as well. Felicia Robinson is one of our allies, and she just created a bill to help provide education for healthcare providers, making it a required course. So that's something that's being worked on now. So as far as A.S.A.P goes, we do a lot of in the trenches, hands-on deck work.
Yeah, when you say, you need volunteers, what would a day of a volunteer look like? What would that volunteer be doing?
Well, we have we do focus groups. Okay. So we need assistance with that. Also, our day-to-day operations, we would love to have volunteers with that, social media, as well as our different educational events that we do throughout the community, different resources, people that know how to provide resources and things like that.
Okay. And I guess your biggest challenge is always finance.
Correct. It's a lot, as I'm sure you know, as a nonprofit, to stay afloat, and especially when you're very passionate and you want to provide so much to the community, it's definitely challenging to seek finances.
And how do you go about that? How do you go about seeking finance? What are some of the things that you're doing?
We apply for grants.
Okay.
We apply for funding, grants, opportunities.
And any other things? Are you doing events?
Yes, we do events, fundraising events, and we have a fundraising event that's coming up on June 23rd, which you are the host of, our first annual Kevin J. Francis Memorial Scholarship.
Okay.
Yeah, we're doing that, and we're providing scholarships to not only graduates of high school that have sickle cell disease, but adults with sickle cell disease, as well as caregivers with sickle cell disease, because we totally understand that it totally takes the entire family to make a difference, and not only the person with sickle cell, it affects everyone. So we're trying to be that beacon of light and hope for those that are impacted.
Right. Now, do you have any other children?
I have another daughter who has the trait.
Okay, so
Yes.
She didn't have full-blown.
No. With each pregnancy, if you have the same parent, you have a 1 in 4 chance with each pregnancy. So a 25% chance of having the full disease. So my other daughter has the sickle cell trait.
Right. So, and again, I know obviously from a family perspective, she's engaged with you with this, with her sister, I'm sure.
Oh, yes, absolutely. She lives in Atlanta, but she's very helpful and very engaged as well. And we have conversations from a young age about her having the trait. And when you decide to, get married
children.
and everything like that, that you need to be informed of, your partner.
So is there anything, to your point, with someone with the trait, and just being naive and asking this question, is there anything you could do to help prevent your baby from being born with it, or is there nothing there?
If you're already pregnant, no. There's.
Well, I mean, even before you get pregnant, is there anything that you can do to help ensure and I'm sure that's why I'm asking the question, because I don't know.
That's when it gets extremely expensive, and then you're talking about fertility treatments and IVF and things like that.
So talk about that. So there are things you can do.
Well, through in vitro fertilization,
Okay.
but that's a whole nother conversation, and many people probably can't even afford that.
Right.
There's things they can do to manipulate, but that's a whole nother conversation. But back to the trait part, we need to be aware of the trait, not just for the purposes of having children. The NCAA now tests all athletes for the sickle cell trait, because there have been incidents of athletes that have passed away from overexertion, from having the sickle cell trait,
Okay.
as well as there's a certain form of kidney cancer that only people with the trait can get. So we need to be educated on the trait as well.
Wow.
Yeah, knowing if we're carriers of the sickle cell trait.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It's a lot. It's definitely a lot.
No, it is. It is. And it's something that impacts our community so much more than many others. But I know you mentioned that there are other communities. Are those communities coming together to work together? Because I know so many times our communities are split up, but are the sickle cell communities coming together?
To be honest, we need more of that. We definitely need more of that. And that's one of the reasons why we're having our Community Voices Unite Town Hall this month.
Okay.
Because that's the whole point of us. We cannot do it alone.
Right.
It takes all of us working together to make a difference. And sickle cell disease is so complex, and it impacts us so greatly that every type of exposure and hands on deck, we need all of it. Mm-hmm. We need all of it to make that impact.
Yeah. What can we do? How can people get in touch with you to learn more about what the work that you're doing and how they can help you?
They can learn more by contacting us at 954-951-1108. Also via email, info@asapbeinformed.org. They can also go to our social media, which is at A.S.A.P Be Informed, A.S.A.P Be Informed. They can get in touch with us like that.
Okay. And you said you have an event coming up in June. Talk about that a little bit.
Yes.
In this last minute that we have.
Okay. Yes. There was a young man who was like my little brother that passed away in 2011 at the age of 23 due to sickle cell disease. Okay. He passed while he was a student at Barry University. So he's the inspiration for our scholarship. Okay. So June 23rd, we're going to be at the Miami Shores Country Club, and those tickets are on Eventbrite right now. Okay. All the proceeds go towards the scholarship. So it's at the Miami Shores Country Club on June 23rd at 1:30.
Okay. So I would love to see all of you there on June 23rd at Miami Shores Country Club. If you want to learn more about the Miami-Dade Chamber, go to m-dcc.org, or you can call the Chamber at 305-751-8648. What's the number that they could reach you again? 954-951-1108. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Knowles, for having me.
Absolutely.